Hello everyone and welcome back to another weather update. I hope everybody is doing well. First, we're going to look at the Storm Prediction Center's outlook, and this is for our day 1 event, but we'll also have another severe weather event for tomorrow on April the 2nd. But today, this outlook is the most recent outlook as of 8:50 p.m. Central Standard Time. But first, if we look here, we have an enhanced risk from southwestern Ohio all the way into northern Texas and then into these states right here. And then around that is a slight risk that extends from western West Virginia all the way into central Texas there. And then with a marginal risk around that all the way from Virginia into Texas again, and then up all the way into Iowa there. And then around that is a general thunderstorm risk. Then if we look at our hail risk for today on April the 1st, we have a 30% risk from northern Texas all the way into south central Illinois there. And then around that is a 15% risk western West Virginia all the way into Texas again. And then we have a hatched risk around parts of some of the 15% area, and then the entire 30% area is surrounded in a hatched risk there. And then around that we have another risk, which is the 5% risk that extends from southern Texas all the way into Virginia and then up north into Iowa as well. And then looking at our wind risk, we have a 30% risk here from eastern Oklahoma all the way into southwestern Indiana. And then we have a hatch risk around that 30% risk for our wind risk. And then around that is a 15% risk from Texas all the way into West Virginia there. And then around that is a 5% wind risk from Texas to Illinois and then into Virginia, all across these states. And then if we look at our tornado risk, we have a 10% risk with a hatched risk around that, and then surrounding that is a 5% risk, and around that 5% is a 2% risk there. Looking at the most recent radar update as of 8:52 p.m. Central Standard Time, we have a couple of severe thunderstorm warnings in Texas here, a flash flood warning in Oklahoma there, and then a couple of severe thunderstorm warnings in northeastern Oklahoma, and then into far eastern Kansas, and then into western Missouri. Then in Missouri, central Missouri, we have a couple of severe thunderstorm warnings here. And then looking into Illinois, we have a couple of flash flood warnings here, and that is it for right now. So looking at the 0ZHRRR for tonight, we're going to start off by looking at the south central United States, and then we'll work up towards the Midwest for tonight, and then tomorrow we'll talk about just mainly the eastern U.S. in general. But first, if we look at the beginning of the run, the 0Z run on the HRRR, it shows storms strung out from Texas all the way into Oklahoma, and then you have these stronger storms up into Oklahoma, but you have this long line extending from Oklahoma to Texas. And then if we keep this going here, this line continues to move, and then it kind of dissipates, you could say, here with some more cells here. And then we have these stronger storms into Oklahoma, and then those clusters just mainly throughout Missouri and Oklahoma. And this will be late tonight into early tomorrow morning, very, very early tomorrow morning on the 2nd. And then going farther with this, you still have those cells into Texas, but they start to weaken and dissipate. And then you have these clusters here moving northeast, and then you have some isolated cells, but they'll weaken throughout the night. And then this will be still late tonight, and then this will be going into tomorrow morning. As I just said, you have some still probably stronger to maybe some severe storms moving into Missouri, and then you just have those moving out of Kansas as well. and then still going into very early tomorrow morning. You still have some of these storms moving out of Missouri. This is probably just rain showers by this point. Now looking at our mixed layer cape for the south to central United States, we have 2,000 joules per kilogram showing up in parts of Oklahoma there, and then into northern Texas 3,000 joules per kilogram showing up right there, and then into southern Texas 4,000 joules per kilogram showing up there. That's definitely a lot of cape for sure. But as this continues and as it gets later into the night, these cape values will weaken quite a bit, and then you still have 2,000 joules per kilogram showing up there, and then 2,000 joules per kilogram showing up in Arkansas, and then over 1,500 joules per kilogram in Missouri, and then into Louisiana, 1,500 joules per kilogram showing up there. And then as this moves throughout the night, this will generally weaken throughout these states right here, and then pretty much this will remain in the 1,500 to a little above 1,500 range as this goes east. So now looking at our low level jet for tonight, over Texas, that we have a 50-knot low level jet there and for the next couple of hours, and then as this moves east, this low level jet will maintain its strength in the upper 30 to lower 40 knot range, but then as this low pressure begins to move east, this low level jet begins to weaken, and then as you can see here, we just lose all of our most of our lower level winds as we get into tomorrow morning. And then by tomorrow morning, you don't have any instability really in this area anymore, and that those winds are completely gone. So looking at the Midwest now for tonight and then into tomorrow morning, as you can see right here, we have just many clusters and storms of just scattered precipitation in general, and then these clusters will move more northeastward throughout the night, and then they will continue to move east, as you can see, over Missouri, Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio there, and these will be very strong to severe for sure. And then these will continue to move east throughout Illinois and then Indiana and then into Ohio there, but they will still weaken as they move east, and they'll pretty much begin to weaken a lot by early tomorrow morning. And then as these still move east, you have that weakening, and you really don't have the severity as you did earlier in the time period, but these will continue to move east and pretty much be out. The stronger storms will be out by early tomorrow morning across these areas, but you could still have some strong to severe storms into Kentucky and Indiana and Ohio for sure. Looking at our mixed layer cape for this too, you really don't have too much cape, but you still have enough for sure. Almost there's 1,200, 1,300 joules per kilogram showing up in southern Illinois there, and then 1,000 in Indiana, and then moving into late tonight into early tomorrow, this will begin to weaken. The cape will begin to lessen a lot, and then you only have around 1,000 per kilogram there, and then just several hundred into Kentucky there too. And then this pretty much the cape pretty much lessens as you get into early tomorrow morning. Now looking at our low level, we have a pretty strong low level jet over Missouri and into Illinois and Indiana and even to Kentucky there. And then this is lower 50 to mid 50 knot low level jet right here. They're very late tonight into early tomorrow, and then we'll have to watch this probably for sure late tonight and then into early tomorrow, because if you can get this overlap of the low level jet and instability, we'll definitely have to see what happens with that for sure. But if I just click the sounding right here, you could probably see here's a good sounding. As I was just saying, I mean, you have a couple thousand joules per kilogram of cape, and then you have those lower level winds, and then that curved hodograph right there. and then you have very moist low levels with upper 60s temperatures there at the surface. But looking still into late tonight into early tomorrow, that low level jet will maintain its strength in the northern sections of it into the mid 50 knots into southern Indiana, and then this will move out by early tomorrow morning for sure. Now moving on to tomorrow's severe weather threat. On Tuesday, April the 2nd, we have a moderate risk in Ohio, eastern Indiana, and then into far northern Kentucky, and then into far western West Virginia there. And then around that moderate risk, we have an enhanced risk all the way from northern Ohio all the way into northern Alabama there. And then around that enhanced, we have a slight risk from Ohio all the way into Florida. And then around that is a marginal risk all the way from Louisiana all the way into New York State. And then around the marginal risk, we have a general thunderstorm risk with that. And then moving on to our hail risk, we have a 30% hail risk from northern Alabama all the way into Ohio. And then we have a hatch risk in Ohio, and then into eastern Indiana, northern Kentucky, and then into far parts of West Virginia there. And then around the 30% risk, we have a 15% risk all the way from Florida into Ohio. And then around that 15% risk, we have a 5% from New York State all the way into Louisiana. Then looking at our wind risk, we have a 30% risk from Ohio into Tennessee, with a hatched risk around that part of the 30% risk. And then around the 30% risk, we have a 15% risk from Florida all the way into Ohio again. And then around that 15% risk, we have a 5% from New York State all the way into Louisiana. And then looking at our tornado risk, we have a 15% risk right here into eastern Indiana, Ohio, West Virginia, and then far northern Kentucky there, with a hatch risk around that. And inside that hatch risk in parts of Kentucky and Tennessee, we have a 10% risk around that. And around that 10% risk, we have a 5% from Florida all the way into Ohio. And then around the 5%, we have a 2% that extends from all the way from New York State into Louisiana. So now we're going to look at tomorrow's severe weather threat on the ZRZHRRR. So this will be early tomorrow morning, and then we'll have it looks like there's going to be some clusters, maybe some semi-discrete storms into Illinois and then Missouri, but we'll have some clusters into Kentucky, Indiana, and Ohio. And then as you go forward with this into mid-morning, you already have some discrete storms showing up in Illinois, and then some in Kentucky, and then you have clusters showing up from southern Indiana all the way into Ohio, and then into far northern Kentucky. And then going forward again with this to about early afternoon, you have these clusters trying to begin to form here, and then all the way just generally from Louisiana into Illinois, and you have some clusters here too into West Virginia and Ohio. And then by 18Z, you have these storms really beginning to strengthen, and then your tornado threat for tomorrow will really begin to ramp up. And then as you can see, we have all of these storms here, definitely probably severe, I would say, at least strong. This will definitely be something to watch tomorrow as you have all these storms. And then we'll get to the instability and then the low level jet in a second. But as you get into mid-afternoon to late afternoon, you just generally have clusters and semi-discrete storms all the way ranging from northern Indiana into Louisiana there. And then you just have this long line right here from Louisiana into Tennessee. And then keeping this going forward, we still have these semi-discrete, and then this line right here from Kentucky all the way into Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama. And then you still have some storms here into Ohio and then West Virginia. And then still going forward, this line weakens just a little bit right here. And then you have these this line, another line behind that. We'll have to watch these two for sure. And then with all that, definitely a wind threat for tomorrow too as well. And then you'll have to watch as they get into Ohio late tomorrow evening into tomorrow night. And then going again, this will be into very late tomorrow evening, or tomorrow night I should say, and then into very early on Wednesday. You just generally have broken up shower storms ranging from Pennsylvania all the way into Alabama right here. And then going into late on Tuesday night, early on Wednesday, you still have these showers and storms moving into Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina, Tennessee, North Carolina, Virginia, Kentucky, and then into West Virginia. You're going to have to watch these two for that for the wind threat for sure. And then this will pretty much begin to move out and lose most of their strength by very early on Wednesday to Wednesday morning. So just taking a quick look at our instability for tomorrow. By early morning, you already have 1500 joules per kilogram showing up in these areas right here. Then going forward to early afternoon, we have early to mid-afternoon, you have 2000 joules per kilogram showing up in parts of Illinois, Indiana, and then into western Kentucky. And then going into tomorrow evening, you still have sufficient cape for sure, just generally across from Ohio all the way into Mississippi. 1500 joules per kilogram scattered just generally across these areas. And then still moving into tomorrow night, you have 2000 joules per kilogram showing up in Tennessee there, and still scattered 1000 to almost 1500 joules per kilogram in some of these areas right here. And then still going into tomorrow night and then into early on Wednesday, you really don't have too much instability except for in southern and central Alabama. And then going into very early on Wednesday into Wednesday morning, you still have a couple hundred joules per kilogram showing up from West Virginia into Georgia there. And then maybe possibly 1000 joules per kilogram showing up in Virginia on Wednesday morning. Now let's look at our low-level jet for tomorrow on Tuesday. So by early tomorrow morning, you have this very large spot of just lower 40 to mid 40, the mid 40 knot low-level jet ranging all the way from pretty much West Virginia into Mississippi here, and then into Tennessee, Missouri. But as you go forward with this, you have this very large area of upper 30 knot to lower 40 knot, a 40 knot low level jet. And then as you move this into mid-afternoon, the mid-afternoon hours, you have that low level jet trying to increase the speed over Illinois and then into Indiana. And then going into later tomorrow evening, you have this 50 knot low level jet showing up into Kentucky, Indiana, Illinois there. We'll definitely have to watch this with that tornado potential tomorrow, and also that wind threat with these. And then as you get later into tomorrow evening, into the nighttime range, you still have that upper 40 to lower 50. Now a little jet ranging all the way from Indiana into Tennessee and then into Ohio, a 60 knot reading showing up there tomorrow late evening. And then still going, you have that little jet in Tennessee too, and then into Virginia still showing up, and then you have that low level jet trying to increase again. But we'll have to watch this too for sure for any storms that are still going, and then even that line showing up there with that wind threat and tornado threat for tomorrow. And this is in late tomorrow night into early on tomorrow on Wednesday. But pretty much the level jet moves out, and you also have this low level jet showing up again into North Carolina and South Carolina and Georgia, into Virginia to Wednesday morning. That's gonna be it for tonight's video. I apologize for being so late on the update, but I also apologize for not uploading for a while, and then this video was kind of sloppy just because I haven't done one in a little while. But I'm definitely going to try to get as many videos out as I can over the next definitely several weeks, as you have the increasing severe weather threat potential. But I really appreciate all of y'all watching this video, and whoever stuck around to the end, I really appreciate that. I hope all of y'all stay safe if you're in these any of these areas in today's risk right here, and then I hope y'all stay safe if you live in any of these areas right there for tomorrow as well. But I think I may try to make another video tomorrow, maybe tomorrow evening or night, but that'll be it for tonight's video. But I hope I have a great rest of y'all's night.